Poetry looks brave, but most days it feels like standing naked with a pen. What's up, everybody? I'm your girl, Tequila Sway. I am an artist, an author, and just the overall creator. But most importantly and primarily, I'm a poet, and I've been a poet for most of my life. Not only that, I'm a mom. So at some point, you're going to hear my toddler in the background coming in the door. I can't stop her. It's her world. She my boss. It's my boss baby. It is what it is. I'm not editing this video, so deal with it. Okay. Now, let's talk about this idea of poetry, right? Poetry, it's something that has rescued me on so many occasions. It's something that I've been doing since I was 7 years old. And I want to talk about some things that people are not talking about when it deals with poetry, because most people tell you to read poetry. That's the best way to get, to write better is to read poetry. Most people tell you to do all of these other tips, and they may have some points, and some of it is true, and some of it is like, no. However, I want to talk about things on this channel that relates to the truth, as well as what helps me as a poet and what has helped me in the past and what is currently helping me, the struggles that I face, debunk some myths, and some of the things that I love about being a poet. I know when most people hear poetry, they're fancied by the words, and you should be. You should feel something when you hear poetry, when you read poetry, right? But let me tell you some things that, that's a part of poetry, the part of poetry that nobody actually warns you about. Now, before we get started, I got to do my plug, and it's not going to be shameless. It is a plug for a reason, because this is my channel, right? All right. Here is my very first poetry book called Deuces and Hearts. It is about the hellos and goodbyes of relationships. If you love poetry, especially in this love month, you should check this out on authorhouse.com or amazon.com. Now, if you like personal development and you like short 6-word poems, then you can check out my personal development poetry books. Focus, Success is Not Given, It's Earned, and Focus, Don't Let Your Dreams Remain Dreams. Okay, and they can be found on they can be found on amazon.com. Okay. That's the first thing. The second thing is you might want to go ahead and subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be talking about different things, and I'm also going to be releasing some of my poetry as well as releasing some other stuff that I'm working on. I have like little short films and whatever else I might be having in the works. You just don't know. So you want to keep up with me as an artist, especially if you're an artist. And if you just so happen to like art and artists, you should subscribe as well and click that notification bell. Thank you. Now, I'm not sure if you heard my daughter in the background saying, okay, because she knows that that's what I do and that's what I say. So you might hear her coming here at any moment doing that. And I'm going to attempt to pause the video, or I might not. I might just let her do her thing, because that little baby Leo does what she does, and I'm not going to interrupt her. The fire sign be fire signing. Okay. But listen, let's talk about the part of poetry nobody warns you about. All right. That first thing is vulnerability. Oh my goodness. I know that some people think that, when artists are vulnerable, it's easy, it's simple, it's smooth sailing. Okay. But the truth is, vulnerability is so difficult for many of us. It's difficult. And it's not difficult because of the writing part, right? Because I've written poetry my whole life since I was 7, and I've been vulnerable with myself in the writing, right? But it's hard, because once it's written, you can't take it back. So once it's written, that means someone else can read it. If it's written in physical form, because I'm old school. I'm starting to transfer things to the digital form now, but once it's written down on paper, that means you're exposing yourself on paper for people to read it, right? Right. And once they read it, you can't take back what you said. You can't take back the feelings. You can't take back about talking about the incident or whatever the thing is that you're talking about in the poem. And it's not that we're afraid of people, talking about the writing, how it's written, the style and all of that. It's deeper than that. It's more, people don't critique the poems, right? People are essentially critiquing you, your feelings, your thoughts, your experiences. And here comes my little boss baby as we speak, okay? So the other part about my little boss baby is that I have my guitar in here, so you're gonna hear her strumming a few strums because I let her have artistic freedom as well. Because why wouldn't I? So that's the first part. The first part is naming our actual struggle. And what we actually struggle with is people critiquing us, not our poetry. Okay, you can come up here with me for a second and then you gotta go, Miss Leo. This baby just want attention because this is what the baby Leos want to do. She want to come and say hi, apparently. Okay. You want to blow a kiss? That was the kiss? Okay, all right, cool. All right, that's it. Go ahead. Go play. Go with your guitar. Go with your guitar. Child, at some point I'm gonna make a video about being an artistpreneur and a mompreneur, because the struggle is freaking real when you got a toddler. Now let's catch back up. So we named the struggle that we all deal with, right? Were y'all listening? Are y'all taking notes? Okay. So the thing that poets deal with and that we struggle with is vulnerability. People critiquing our vulnerability. Okay. So let's get to the next thing. The next thing is the misconception, like the myths. Okay. That for one, poets are fearless. We're not. We're just doing it scared. We're very much afraid in this world. We're just doing our very best to articulate the times and articulate our feelings for everyone and hope that we're speaking for you as well, but we're primarily doing it for us. Okay. So that's the truth. The truth is that poets are afraid. We're really afraid, but we're honest anyway. But we push through anyway, but we do it while it's hard anyway. So vulnerability doesn't necessarily mean oversharing, although for some poets they do overshare, but that's their business, not me. I still got a little bit of stoicism in me, but for the most part I'm learning how to be more vulnerable and more open in my poetry, especially nowadays as I grow older, and then as I am a mom and I have a toddler of a little, who's a little girl. I'm becoming more vulnerable in my poetry, and my little boss baby is pushing through the door right now. The amount of times I got to keep stopping and doing this video is quite disturbing. So in essence, like, people think that poets are fearless. It's not that. We do it scared. But in reality, the truth is, when we are being vulnerable in our poems, we are telling the truth without protection. Do you know how scary that is? Do you know how scary that is? Do you know how scary that is? Think about your own personal life. How often are you vulnerable with people, with relatives, with friends, with coworkers, with whomever, with the world, with your content? Think about how vulnerable you truly are. Are you truly that vulnerable? Poets are that vulnerable. Now, I apologize in advance if you hear Miss Rachel in the background. I had to put Miss Rachel on because that's the only thing that keeps her attention these days. I don't like it. I can't stand it. However, for the sake of making this video, that's what she's going to do for now. And that's what we're going to do. Because, listen, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. Shut up. Let's continue on with the video. So I know you're probably like, okay, Sway, so what's the problem with being vulnerable again? Like, I thought that's what y'all do. We do. But you have to understand that we're taking risk when it comes to telling and revealing our vulnerability. What risks are those? How about the risk of being misunderstood? That's the first one. We don't know if you're really going to understand our feelings, our emotions, our circumstances, what we decide to do, our actions, our thoughts. We don't know if you're going to get it or not. Okay. And we're being judged by that the moment we open our mouths, the moment we open our pens, which means that people could read us incorrectly because people don't translate things in the same way. Art is subjective. So how we translate art is usually through the lens of our own experiences, right? Let's be real. So sometimes we find that people project their own experiences, their own wounds onto our work, which is how it's supposed to be, because that's the only way that you can attempt to relate to what we're saying. But it doesn't make it any less easy. It doesn't make it that more easy, whichever way you want to go with that. And then the other part is writing something that's real and true and then watching it get ignored. Like it's like you're at a therapist's office and you're spilling your chest out, you're spilling your guts out, and they pretty much are ignoring whatever you're saying and talking about a different topic. It's uncomfortable AF. So why do y'all do it, Sway? Why do poets continue to spill their guts out in their poetry if they're afraid to be vulnerable? If all of these things, if they're afraid to be judged, if all of these things, right? I'm so glad you asked. It goes back to purpose. It goes back to our purpose of being here. It's about poetry is our survival. I know a lot of people say it's therapy. Like, it literally has saved many of our lives. I'm one of them. Poetry has saved my life. Had I not been able to express myself in poetry, I would have held everything in over the years and I would be a hot mess. I'm so thankful I'm not on drugs, that I'm not on heavy alcohol, that I don't have any major mental health issues. Every now and then I got a little bit of anxiety, but that's about it. And if you're someone who suffers from mental health issues that are deeper than mine, then I empathize, and I really hope that my poetry in general can help to relieve you and release you of some of that. I hope that me being vulnerable in some of my poetry can help relieve and get off some of that gunk that you might feel in your life, and that some of that cloudiness that you might feel, to where you might not even need to do some of that stuff sometimes. That is my hope for you. But for poets, we write for our own survival, right? We write for clarity. We write for release. We write to refuse to go numb, or even to express our numbness. We write to express what's happening in the world and hope that somebody gets it, and hope that we're doing some type of justice, that we are revolutionizing in our own little way, that we are standing up for something in our own little way. It's so much that goes into poetry that people just don't know and just don't understand. I think that sometimes people believe that we're just flowery, and we can be flowery with words. We can be deep with words, but it's so much more than just that. Even for your most erotic poet, they still feel deeper than what is being led to think. You know what I mean? So even when you see some poets, they could have big names, they could be small name people, and even if you see their content online and it's blowing up or whatever the case may be, they're not just content creators, and they probably would find it as an insult for you to call them a content creator. They are poets. Poets feel. Poets are human. They're not robots. So I'm going to close out with this, right? I would do a piece for y'all, but y'all ain't ready for all that. Y'all got to catch another video. Because why would I give you all of that? Okay. When poets show up vulnerable, when we are releasing our vulnerability, it is us refusing to disappear. It is us standing in our truth. It is us facing our fears. It is us hoping that we saved at least one person, that we are able to articulate for one person who may not be able to put into words how they feel. When poets are vulnerable, it's not us attempting to be fancy or attempting to get favor from the crowd or fame. I mean, some boys do. But for the most part, even those poets are fighting something deeper within themselves. And so the myth that we have to break is that although poets are vulnerable, we do it in hopes that it helps another person. We really and truly do. And here comes my boss baby telling me to wrap it up, so I gotta hurry up and wrap it up right now. So the part about poetry that nobody warns you about is this. Vulnerability is the hardest part about being us. We relive emotions. We relive events in our lives that have happened. We relive times that we wish to move past. We are brave to face ourselves in our writing, which becomes a mirror for who we are, because it's truly our personal journey. And we are simply hoping that by telling our story, that we hope to liberate the next person. No matter if we're being critiqued, judged, like grimaced at, rolled eyes at, we take that chance putting it out there in hopes that it helps someone. So if this video resonated with you and you feel what I feel, make sure you go to the top and subscribe to my channel, and we will be talking about more. Did any of this relate to you? Can you feel that? Let me know in the comments what you related to, all right? Peace and love, and stay focused. Peace.